All right, we're live. The autograph post-game show. Alabama hammers Charleston 109-96. What a weird day. Weird day with Auburn losing right before Alabama played. Surprising loss by Auburn to get bounced by Yale. And then Auburn, who was coming into this tournament on a heater. And then Alabama, who was coming to this tournament maybe not playing their best basketball. And Auburn is the team that kind of lays an egg, and Alabama is the team that looks dominant. So who knows? That's what the NCAA tournament is all about. The show presented tonight by Autograph. The Autograph app is absolutely free. Curate your favorite teams right there on the Autograph app. Tom Brady is the owner, so you know the Autograph app is legit. And use code TNR when you sign up. That very much helps us. Code TNR when you sign up. I'm going to hang with you for just a little bit as you're between games there. If you want to pay attention to who Alabama gets next, St. Mary's and Grand Canyon about to tip off. But as Deborah says, Alabama rolls into round number 2. John, very excited about it. JM 12 green, great performance, vintage Nady ball. That did look a lot more like Nate Oates you're used to. Landmine believer, defense was outstanding. They quit trying when they were up 30. I didn't think Alabama's, it is kind of weird, and that's what the announcers were just saying at the end of that game, is Alabama's defense actually did play much better in that game, and still you almost got 90 points scored, or almost 100 points, I should say, scored by Charleston. But I did think Alabama's defense played much better. Brock, Bama can hang with anybody when they play their basketball. We'll see about that. We'll get to see if that's the case. Hookamania, Bama scored 95 with 8:02 left. Starter stayed in until 3 minutes left. So you did get the scrubs in just a little bit to finish things up. I shouldn't say scrubs. That's kind of mean. Those guys do a lot. Josh is on to, and the announcers touched on this, and he's right about this. A healthy Reitzel makes all the difference. So Latrell Reitzel in tonight's game, and this is what, game 4 for him back, was kind of the old Latrell Reitzel before he had the concussion injury right before that Florida game. Reitzel tonight was fantastic for the time. He did not lead him in scoring because of Mark Sears, but Reitzel was 5 of 6 from beyond the arc. He had 5 of Alabama's 13 threes and scored 17 points in tonight's action. Now, Sears led all scorers with 30 points. Sears 9 of 13 for the field, 3 of 6 from beyond the arc. Mark Sears with a fantastic game, 30 points, 5 assists. But I tell you what, when you got Reitzel playing that way, it's going to be a tough team to handle. I mean, the starting 5, let me do some quick math here. That's 50, 59, 62 points, or 72 points. I'm sorry, 72 out of the 109 points out of the starting 5 there. It's pretty good. And Grant Nelson only had 3. I mean, you did all that without Grant Nelson playing. You really did it all without Pringle playing much. He's in the doghouse a little bit. Pringle had 5 points and 3 fouls in very limited time. He picked up some fouls really quick. So that was an impressive win by Alabama. I'm curious, those of you in the chat room here, I almost asked this on Twitter, but I'll save it for you guys. I'll ask in the chat room, the best Alabama has played since. I've got what I think my answer is, and I'll give you the date on that. I had to look up the date. I'll give you my answer, but the best Alabama has played since blank. So you ask me, you answer that question. Chris says it looks like a Manscaped beard trimmer down to 1. I use the 3 guard. I did it this morning. Friday's one of my days. Michael says best Alabama's played since A&M. Stan says best Alabama's played since Preston says since Vietnam. Will says since A&M. Zach says Ole Miss. You know, Zach, they were behind in that Ole Miss game. What, were they down 15? Am I right about that? And they came back. Jay says Texas A&M. Caleb says A&M. Ryan Fowler says A&M. I would. Luke says February. So you guys are with me. February 17th against A&M. That's my answer too. That's a game Alabama won by 25. Another one of the games where they hit 100. I think that was the best Alabama has played since the Texas A&M game. That does go back to February 17th, by the way. So I think that's been, if you look at Alabama since then, since that A&M game, here's what Alabama's given you. So February 17th, At home, they beat A&M by 25, 100-75. I think that game, if I remember, was when Alabama tied the school record for 100-point games in a single season. Since then, Reitzel got injured. They had that overtime win against Florida, which, in hindsight, that's a good Florida team. I know they got knocked out today, but it's a good Florida team, 98-93. They got bombed by Kentucky, 117-95. They had the comeback that Zach mentioned against Ole Miss. And Zach could be right. That was a road game at Ole Miss. That's at the time, an Ole Miss team was playing for their tournament life, 103-88. But then the calendar flipped to March, and Alabama forgot to turn the calendar. Tennessee beats Alabama at home, 81-74. Good game. They get drilled at Florida, 105-87. They have to come from behind to beat Arkansas in overtime. They get drilled by Florida, 102-88. So I think this is the best game, the 109-96 win since the 17th of February when Alabama beat A&M by 25. Ole Miss probably, for me, the second one in there. So there you go. Alabama with a huge win. We'll get some of your reaction on this. Richard says, good seeing you today, Brown and LT. I think Richard was out at walk-ons. Had a bunch of people out at walk-ons. We appreciate you guys coming out. We had a good time out there watching UAB play tight San Diego State. Hated UAB lost that game. Yaks got in foul trouble. They had no answer for the inside there. They lost the game, but we had a good time watching it. Luke, are we concerned that we gave up 96 points? I'm assuming the we as Alabama fans. I know the other we as Alabama fans because they gave up 96 points. That's who this Alabama team is. I would say, though, and JF makes this point, you're up big. I don't know that it was 100-70, but it was something like that. You're up big for 5 minutes stuff. I do think Alabama lost their intensity. You heard the announcer that was not Robbie Hummel say, right as he said, Alabama has impressed me defensively in this game. They got an uncontested backdoor alley-oop. But I was thinking the same thing, actually. I think Alabama played pretty well defensively. Play much better defensively. Deborah, excuse me, sorry, hit the wrong one. Deborah says she is concerned. Pritchlaw says we were up 30. That is true. SS says College Charleston threw it up 78 times. I'm going to confirm that. That is a lot of field goal attempts. I know they shot it a lot. Box score, they were 32 of 78. Shot 41%. Alabama, though, 36 of 60. Bama shot 60%, 56.5% from beyond the arc. So, I do think Alabama played better defensively. I also do think they lost a little bit, and this is understandable. I think they lost a little bit of intensity when they were up so big. And that game was over from basically the 15-minute mark on. So, I just don't – I wouldn't really concern myself. I would say I look at the positives for this, that Mark Sears is back to – at least tonight, back to what Mark Sears has been. Like I said, 9 of 13 from the field, 3 of 6 from beyond the arc, 30 points, 5 assists. Reitzel looks a little bit like the Reitzel of old, 5 of 6 from beyond the arc, 17 points, pre-injury Reitzel. Estrada had a nice game, 6 of 14 from the field, 1 of 4, 13 points, 8 assists, 1 of 4 from beyond the arc. You got nothing out of Grant Nelson, 3 points and a board out of Grant Nelson, and you still went going away 109-96. Your bench didn't do a ton. Wagee was 6. I'm trying just to find the guys that weren't really scoring in garbage time. Jaron Stevenson was 7. Sam Walters, 9. Sam Walters playing all right. Pringle had 5. So you didn't have to depend on your bench a lot. So, yeah, I like what Alabama did tonight. Look, this is a tournament where, and you've seen it with the SEC teams. You've seen it with, Florida getting bounced by Colorado. You've seen it with Texas A&M or Texas A&M winning over Nebraska. You've seen it with Auburn losing. You've seen it with Kentucky losing. You've seen it with Mississippi State losing. SEC had kind of struggled. I think anytime you could get a win right now, the way this is shaping up in this NCAA tournament, obviously you're happy to have a win at any point. So, I think you could find some issues with this win. You gave up 96 points, but you scored 109. Well, Colorado-Florida game was wild. I was so locked in. I had to leave my house. My daughter had an event tonight. So I'm having to watch the Auburn game on my phone in the parking lot before I went in. and did not get a chance to watch the end of that Florida-Colorado game because couldn't bounce back and forth. I was stuck on the Auburn-Yale game. But, man, what a wild finish for that Colorado-Florida game, 102-100. Colorado beats Florida. Our man Greg, defense is what broke it open to the second half, 3 or 4 stops in a row, baskets at the other end. It was over. Great game tonight for the Tide. Again, I don't think 96 points, you're going to say Alabama played great defense. I thought it was a much better defensive effort for Alabama. And perhaps that just shows where Alabama is defensively. But I thought that is that's a pretty good defensive performance by Alabama. Matthew asked, the next round, which other SEC teams are still in? Well, that's bad news for the Southeastern Conference. Texas A&M is still in. Alabama is still in. And Tennessee is still in, Matthew. It's been a rough go for the Southeastern Conference. But they still got some teams alive. And, hey, listen, the way this Alabama team played, I think they're a handful. I do think St. Mary's, and that game will start at 9:57, just about 20 minutes away. I do think St. Mary's, the style they play is a interesting style, interesting contrast to what Alabama does. So that would be an interesting matchup. I think Grand Canyon is going to win this game. I think they're going to pull the upset. And I think that is a little bit more of the style you just saw Alabama play against Charleston. I think Grand Canyon is a little bit more of the style that Alabama would want to go up against. I think this Alabama team's positioned well to make the Sweet 16. I really do. And I wondered, I haven't gotten a whole lot right about the NCAA tournament over the years. I think that's not a mystery to anyone. And I didn't get a whole lot right today. I thought Auburn would beat Yale going away. When Auburn, when they stretched it to 10, I thought, okay, Auburn's odds. In fact, I was texting with a buddy of mine that's an Auburn fan. I said, Auburn's about to pull away right here. And I look up 5 minutes later and the game's tied. Terrible prediction by me. I was so wrong on that. But one thing I did get right is I said 2 things about this game Alabama just played. Number one, I said, I don't see any way. We talked about the fact that Charleston was undefeated when they scored at least 80 points. And I said, I don't think any way Alabama holds them under 80. Not the way Charleston plays. And I said, I do think, though, Alabama will score over 100 yet again and win going away. Alabama has scored 100-plus points in a third of their games. That is crazy to think about how often Alabama has scored 100 points. 100 points in a third of their games. School record. That's an impressive school record there. Cliff, why is everyone so high on a 4-seed Auburn team that lucked up and played all lower seeds in the SEC tournament? Because we thought the Southeastern Conference was the best conference in America. And if you're judging on, or one of them, maybe not the best conference, I still think the Big 12 was. But if you're going to judge on this tournament, obviously the Southeastern Conference is not the best. John said everybody got Yale Auburn wrong. I 100% got that one wrong. 100% got that one wrong. No doubt about it. Will says, Brownie, you got to be feeling good about not finishing last in the bracket punishment. I mentioned I went to an event with my daughter tonight, and then we went and grabbed a bite to eat afterwards at a local Mexican establishment. And in both spots, that's just about all anybody could talk to me about. I was at an event with my daughter, and a guy walks up to me and he leans over and he goes, well, at least you don't have to be handcuffed to somebody. I was at the Mexican restaurant. The guy stops me and says, man, Jimmy Landmine, that is a real thing, isn't it? I was like, yeah, it's a real thing. I don't know how Dunaway did that. I hated to see Auburn. I pull for our state teams. I wanted to see Auburn and UAB playing for a right to go to the Sweet 16. It does not break my heart that I'm not going to lose the bracket challenge if, in fact, I don't lose it. And Dunaway's losing his national champion. That's probably it's going to be hard to overcome that when you lose your national champion in game number 1. But listen, I've probably lost enough games over the years that I can't count this as a win yet. But boy, I do feel good about it right now. I don't know if Brooks is talking to me or not, but I'll read it anyway. Don't jump on Bama. Y'all have loved Auburn all year. I've said all year they didn't have the guard play. I guess that's Auburn he's talking about. So there you go. Sorry, Brooks. I won't jump on Alabama. Justin says if starters had stayed in, it would have been more like 117-84. You're probably right. That's about the way that game was played. This is a dominant win. I mean, that was a 30-point game. The final score is not going to show that because Nate Oates got his starters a little bit of rest, played some of the guys. But as JF says, it was 100-71 with 5:38 left in the game. That was a 30-point Alabama win. It's not going to show in the historical record, but Alabama dominated that game. That game was over. Like I said, at the under 16, that game was over. Brandon, has anybody checked on Little T? I have texted with Little T. She is in the Alabama locker room right now. She will stay, and she's going to stay in Spokane, even though we're only down to one state team there. She'll stay and cover that. So Little T not happy with her Auburn Tigers or Jim Dunaway. As Ryan says, Dunaway may want to call in sick when Little T gets back. There is I'm going to be careful with this, but I'll show you. Let me see if I can do this. I don't want to. Here. We've got a show text thread. All right. I just showed you that briefly. And it was very active, I will say, as that Auburn game was winding down. Little T with her thoughts and us talking about maybe having to reevaluate the landmines. Hookamania, the Dunaway mud puddle rested on top of Indian burial ground. I don't know what it is. It's the wildest thing. But I'm telling you, nobody that knows Dunaway or nobody that works with us thinks Dunaway was trying to do that. He likes the pearls too much. So nobody thinks Dunaway was trying to do that. I don't think it was like an intentional landmine. I just think sometimes the landmine happens. Like Lance always says, and Lance is right about this, for the landmine to be legitimate, Dunaway has to believe what he's saying. He can't just throw it out there to try to affect an outcome. He 100% believed it. 100% believed it. Richard says the Hillary Clinton landmine is still the greatest. It's going to be hard to beat that one. That was a presidential election. JF, Auburn held Yale to 78 points, and then he spells out defense there. It was at the free throw stripe, man. The free throw stripe. Man, that was hard to watch. I'm sure if you're an Auburn fan, because the last 2 years, James Madison is up 33-18. I had to look real quick, Jerry. How about James Madison right now? I knew that game was getting close to the half. 3.7 to go. 33-18. James Madison is up. Last 2 years, Auburn has basically ended their season at the free throw stripe. The Houston game last year, when Janai Broome missed 9 free throws in the second half, and they just kept sending them to the stripe, and Auburn couldn't hit free throws, and it cost them any chance of beating Houston. And then today, man, to watch them down the stretch, 87% free throw shooter, missing free throws with the game on the line. It was, the Chad Baker-Mazara ejection obviously had a huge impact in that game. That's on Chad Baker-Mazara. And I think you saw, the reaction from the Auburn players afterwards, specifically Dylan Cardwell. Little T had that from the Auburn locker room. We sent that out. They lost that game at the free throw stripe, though. Even with Chad Baker-Mazara out, Auburn still had a chance to win that game. They're up 10 at one point, and that guy was out early in the first half. Brian, what's up, Brian? If Bama shoots good, they can play with anybody in the country. I got a lot of criticism for saying this, and I get why. If Alabama hits 18 threes, they are going to beat anybody. They did not hit 18 tonight. What was it? 13 they hit, and still scored 109 points. If Alabama can hit their threes, and look, I know what people said. Look, any team that hits 18 threes is going to win. My point with that is Alabama doesn't play good enough defense to win a national championship. If Alabama they hit 13 tonight. If they play every game in this tournament and hit 13 to 18 threes, they could lift the trophy at the end and win a national championship. I don't know that you can keep that up. Don't know that you can keep it up, but we'll see. I'm just trying to find some of the SS, the Grand Canyon 957 tip time is brutal. I got Rump Shaker in the morning. First of all, SS, thank you for supporting Rump Shaker. They've advertised with us. That is a great cause. But I hate it you're not going to get to see that. I think this Grand Canyon St. Mary's game is going to be very entertaining. So I hate you're not going to see that. A little bit of different contrasting styles. Not quite what Alabama St. Mary's would be, but a little bit of a hint of that. Philip says, let us know how happy you are. You won't be handcuffed to anyone. I'm thrilled. When again, I hate to even count the win. Like, I've already lost Kansas in the Final Four. Today, I haven't done too bad. So, all right, now Wisconsin wouldn't help me a ton, or Kentucky in the Final Four. I'm sorry, not Kansas. Wisconsin lost because I had them playing Kentucky. So it's going to wipe me out a good bit in that part of the bracket over there, Philip. But I feel better about my situation with Dunaway having lost his national champion. I'll have to say that. So, yeah, I'm going to tell you, I'm not counting my win just yet, but I feel okay. Let's see. John, people are arguing about. John says the Yale guy should have been called first. But Chad Baker-Mazard definitely deserved the ejection. Some Auburn fans are saying it was a BS ejection. Look, I mean, they went to the monitor, they looked at it. I think you had to call the foul right there. I'm not going to say maybe he wasn't instigated to do it, but you just can't lose your situation. You can't lose your cool like that. You can't. Brandon has been out of the loop. So a member of our audience, Ush, was selected by our staff. Now, keep in mind this year, the bracket punishments are done by our staff. So our staff picked a member of the audience. I was going to have to be handcuffed to him for 24 hours and spend all 24 of that hours in our studios. So that was not going to be fun. The bathroom, eating, sleeping, all those things, not going to be fun. Thankfully, it doesn't appear I'm going to have to go through with that. It looks like Dunaway is going to have to pay his off, and Baker is asking what those are. So Dunaway, if he loses, has got to make 5 3-pointers at 5 different, or 1 3-pointer at 5 different Division I gyms. Now, it could be in any state. All they got to be is Division I teams. There's 358, I think it is, Division I teams. 358 Division I teams. And he's got to make a 3-pointer at 5 gyms, but he can't set it up in advance. He's got to sneak in or walk in. I'm necessarily sneak in. Someone will just open, walk in. If he gets thrown out, he gets thrown out. But he's got to hit 5 3-pointers. And Little T or somebody is going to go with him to document it on video. And we'll have some of it live on the show. That's if Jim loses. If Lance loses, he's got to go to the Auburn and Alabama 8A games and stay until the end. So that is. Now, we do have a second place punishment, which I could still easily finish second place, even if I don't win, or even if I don't lose. I've got to hand deliver some TNR gear like this, nextround.store. I guess, by the way, we're not giving money back, right? All these ones, well, Houston's still playing, but they're up 43-16 on Longwood at the half. I got confidence they're going to be able to close that one out. So it looks like we skated, and we're not going to have to give away any free gear. So thank you all, and so many of you took part in this. We really do appreciate it. Thank you all for ordering the gear and merch madness. We'll try to do something for the Elite 8 Sweet 16. I'll see what we can do. But we're not going to pay any gear back. But the second place finisher has to hand deliver a merch order to one of our audience members. So that's also a possibility there. Landmine Believer, how different is the narrative on Pearl if that NMSU kid doesn't miss a wide open 3 at the buzzer? So he had the look for that game in the first round of the year Auburn went to the Final Four. It ended up being the closest anybody played to Auburn until Virginia beat them. It would definitely look different. That is something I've said about Bruce Pearl is, for all the success he's had at Auburn, he's had the Final Four, but outside of that, you just kind of forget because of that Final Four that he's never advanced past the round of 32. And now he's got a one and done on the resume here at Auburn after today. So that has been, I know, maybe a little underwhelming for the guy who's the best coach in Auburn basketball history. I'm going to say that. But that is that's tough, man. That is tough to swallow. Never passed the round of 32 outside of that one trip to the Final Four. But I would say the trip to the Final Four overshadows a lot, right? SS, doesn't LT have to get autographs after the spring game? I think one autograph at each place, by the way. John says, so Browning can't lose. Oh no, that is absolutely not the case. I can absolutely still lose this thing. I promise you. Zach says he gave Jim a path. He could stay in Alabama and get it done in 5-ish hours. I mean, it could be done. I think the, Lunsford, who keeps up with this stuff now. Lunsford's our math whiz. The Dunaway, trying to give him a compliment, once called him a simple mind. He meant a beautiful mind. Simple-minded Lunsford says Dunaway's not out of it. I am not counting the win yet. Trust me, I'm not counting the win. I've done this too much. I am not counting the win. Hookamania, Pearl's a good coach, does the most with lesser talent. I think Bruce Pearl's an excellent coach. I don't argue that at all. I'm just saying, in his time there, there has been the Final Four run, and he's never made it past the round of 32. Richard, I gave a shout out to Charlie. I got to meet him today. He's a big fan. What is up, Charlie? I did meet him at walk-ons. Good to see you today, Charlie. Preston, shout out to Alabama women's hoops. First tournament win for the states. That is true. Alabama's men followed up, but I guess the women got there first. Landmine Believer says, sorry, Brandon, I think your punishment would have been the best content. I don't disagree with that. I do think, though, that our staff picked really good content punishments, and that's what I care about the most. I want good content for you guys, and I think all of them are going to be pretty good content when it's said and done. I promise you that. Hookamania says I should have to serve food at Aliceville Ladies Prison. That's actually funny content. I don't know what the I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to do that and figure out a way maybe to put a charitable tie in there. I don't know how we could raise money for charity and do that, but I am willing to do something at the Aliceville Women's Prison. I will be more than happy to do that. I just don't know what the legalities behind that are. All right, let's take a quick look. I want to talk about some of these other games real quick. James Madison up 33-20. 33-20 at the half on Wisconsin. I saw our buddy Dan Wetzel, Yahoo Sports, say that James Madison team is one heck of a 12 seed. The committee slept on that one. That is looking like a tough draw with Whiskey down 13 at the half. Early or about midway through the first half, TCU up 20-18 on Utah State. Houston hammering Longwood 43-16. Just a couple games jumping out at me. Texas A&M 98-83 over Nebraska. Good win for A&M. Buzz Williams. They get to move on and see if you never know. They get to play Houston next. The way that A&M team is playing, Houston can go in some offensive funks. You saw that in their conference championship game. I don't know what a point spread on that A&M Houston game would be, but it's not going to blow me away if A&M is in that game with Houston. Duke easily over Vermont, 64-47. Grambling lost to Purdue by 28, 78-50. And Grand Canyon at St. Mary's, the only game that has yet to tip tonight. So we'll see what Alabama's got if you want to stay up and watch that one. Roderick says Dunaway better go in witness protection when little T gets back in town. She's already told him. She is not happy. Royal Payne, Brown at Aliceville is better than Johnny Cash at Folsom. One of my favorite Johnny Cash albums. I'm a big Johnny Cash fan. I love The Man in Black. His San Quentin album is really, really good. I know he did one at Folsom Prison, but I've always liked the San Quentin album he did. So maybe we could do that one day. Will ask how the bracket challenge is looking. If you'll give me a second, I'll pull it up, Will. Lunsford was on the show for a minute. He might be able to. I think I can get it pretty quick here, though. I am 139th overall, but that's not what I care about. What I care about is how I am in comparison to Lance. He and I are tied. We've both got 20 points so far, but Lance has 101 points, possible points remaining. I got 99. So that's pretty close. Dunaway has got 16 points and 79 possible remaining. So I am in second, and I've still got 20 more points remaining than Dunaway, and I'm 4 points ahead of him. It is going to be hard for him to make it up. I know Lunsford said earlier in the chat, this thing is not over, but it's going to be hard for him to catch me. Matthew says, do you think anybody will hire Bucky away from Sanford? I don't know. There's some jobs still open. So here's what you got to look at. A couple things. Number one, Vanderbilt is still open. A lot of people have connected him with Vanderbilt. Wow. Hang on. I'm going to come back to this. So, Lunsford, you're telling me Houston gets to the championship game. It puts Lance at first and maybe me in third. I don't want to hear that. It's still the first round, Lunsford. There's no way you could project that would be in third place if I lost that game. No way you can project that. Vanderbilt is still open. And Kentucky is a possibility. And I'm not saying Bucky would get the Kentucky job. Hear me out on this. Louisville is open. So, Michigan is open. So those three jobs, Michigan, if Kentucky came open, if Calipari decides to step aside or if he gets fired, and Louisville still being open, the domino effect is what could affect Bucky McMillan there. So those jobs, one would think, are going to hire a pretty good coach and would open up another job, and that might be the job Bucky would take. Or maybe that job's able to hire a guy and Bucky replaces him. So I don't think by any stretch of the imagination with Vanderbilt open, Rodney James says Vanderbilt rumors for Bucky in Nashville last week. I've been hearing that for weeks. I think a lot of people think that there's some commonality between Vanderbilt and Samford, that a lot of what you have to do at Samford is the same thing you have to do at Vanderbilt. Yeah, I don't know. I think the concern at Vanderbilt I have, and Samford is, probably a similar concern, is your NIL. The problem at Vanderbilt is it is a transient student body. You've got a lot of international students. They come in, they get an amazing degree in education. They go out into the world. They never really get plugged into athletics while they're there. They don't go to the football games. They don't go to the basketball game. I'm not just talking about the international students. I'm talking about even national students. They don't go to the sporting events while they're there. So they never get any sort of personal connection to the sporting teams. So when they do go off and they get these amazing engineering jobs, and they become lawyers, they get these medical jobs, they don't have any sort of emotional connection to the athletic program. So it's hard for them then to turn around and write these big checks to an NIL fund. So I do think you've got some issues with Vanderbilt's NIL. Now, Samford they probably don't have a robust NIL either, but they're playing against other teams that are in their same boat, right? And that's the difference between Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's playing against Alabama, who's got a good NIL. Auburn, who's got a good NIL. Kentucky, who obviously does. Can't do a ton with it, but they got it. So to me, that's the big deal there. All right, so Lunsford's clearing this thing up. Just Houston making it to the championship gives Dunaway and Lance 12 points. I wouldn't get. Well, that'd be tough right there, Lance. So we got to pull against Houston, is what you're telling me. Tennessee over Creighton adds another 7 to Jim, and it kills my champion. No, it does not kill my champion. I got Creighton in the championship game. Arizona is my champion. Okay, so this thing's not over now. I'm telling you, this thing is not over. Chris talking about Bucky says, I'd be patient before taking Vandy. I would too. I know it's an SEC job. Those things don't grow on trees. There's only 14 of them now, soon to be 16 of them. Excuse me, I hit my tripod. I would hold. I would not take the Vandy job. I think Bucky can continue to win at Samford. He's made a name for himself. When you've got Bill Self in the post game saying that was my first experience with Bucky ball, and I just as soon not have to do it again anytime soon. That is a commercial for Bucky McMillan. It's a commercial for Samford basketball as well. But in terms of getting a job, it's a great commercial for Bucky McMillan. So I'd hold what I got, unless this Louisville job or Michigan job opens up a door at another school with their hire that would help him. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I hope Bucky's able to stick around. I like what he's got going right there. They played an amazing game last night, got screwed by the refs at the end, and I hate it for them. All right. So Alabama wins. Auburn loses. UAB loses. Texas A&M wins. Florida loses. So the SEC stacking up the losses. The state of Alabama stacking up the losses. Alabama's the lone team still alive. We'll get a tip time probably late tonight. The problem is the St. Mary's Grand Canyon game is just now tipping off. So that game is going to have to go final probably before you'll get a tip time for Sunday. But keep in mind, Sunday's got that early game, then a bunch of later games. They've got that one national early game, if I'm not mistaken, and then a bunch of later games. So you're probably going to get a late afternoon, late night game. If it's St. Mary's, that's a West Coast team. So is San Diego State, who's in Spokane as well. So one of those two games, St. Mary's and Grand Canyon's West Coast too. So St. Mary's, San Diego State, Grand Canyon in this, you're potentially looking at that late Sunday night game. So I don't know. We'll see a start time, but St. Mary's, Grand Canyon underway. The winner is who Alabama will play. Look at Lunsford. He's right about this. Rockstar does this every year. He's dominating everybody at work along with Reed. Rockstar does this every single year. I don't know how he does it, but every single year. He's dominating the bracket. I don't know how he does it. Steven says, I'm just checking in. Bucky won't get the Kentucky job. I'm not saying to get the Kentucky job. I'm saying Kentucky and Louisville and Michigan could potentially hire coaches that open the door to another program that Bucky would take. So that's what I'm saying about that. All right, guys, Alabama wins and moves on. We will talk more about it. We'll be live with you Sunday post-Alabama. We got to see what the start time is, but Dunaway and I, Lance on vacation next week. Dunaway and I will give you something Post Alabama. Make sure you go to Next Round Live and see if Little T's got anything up yet before I go. She's been in the Alabama locker room there, Little T has. So nextroundlive.com, and at Next Round Live on Twitter. I don't know why I gave you the website. I don't know if any of that stuff will be on the website. But that was just like my gut reaction is to say the website. So Little T's got some stuff up. Nate Oates walking to the Alabama locker room, if you want to look at that real quick. But you can see what Little T does up there in Spokane at Next Round Live, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us there at Next Round Live. If you would give this a thumbs up, what you're watching right now, share it, like it, retweet it, give it a thumbs up on YouTube. That would help us a lot. We'd greatly appreciate it. Also, don't forget autograph. You see right in the bottom corner right there, the QR code for Autograph. Autograph app is an app that curates all your favorite teams in one place. And you go to the Autograph app and you've got everything you need from all your favorite teams in one place. You can just scan that QR code, use code TNR. When you sign on, that helps us a lot and we appreciate it. And then don't forget mybookie.ag. But the Autograph app, they bring you this post-game show and all Little T's coverage from up in Spokane. So you can check that out at Next Round Live, So thank you very much for Autograph helping us really enjoy the postseason with you guys. Kevin says it's a really good app. Great sponsor pickup. Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate Autograph jumping on. They've done a great job with us, and we've really enjoyed it. Bama JT, thanks for doing the solo brownie. I love these post-game shows. You're absolutely welcome. If Dunaway weren't at why can I not say it? My daughter's even there. The Zach Bryan concert. I almost said Luke Bryan. The Zach Bryan concert. He will be on here with me. So happy to do it. Enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed all the games today. A couple more to wrap up, and we'll talk about some more tomorrow and Saturday. So make sure you set your alerts and join us right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, wherever you're getting us. We appreciate it. Have yourself a great Friday night. Enjoy the basketball. We'll see you soon.